First of all, these are two very different cameras. One is a full-on cinema camera, and the other one is a small, mid-range, mirrorless full-frame camera. However, the difference in price isn't ridiculous, so I thought it would be quite interesting to compare these two cameras. First of all, detail. Well, the C100 Mark II does really well for a 1080p camera. Its 4K to HD downsampling does a really good job of capturing detail, but it's no match for the EOS R's 4K. In this case, more pixels means more details, and we can definitely see the extra information in the EOS R's image. Next up, dynamic range. Canon claims both cameras have 12 stops of dynamic range, which makes sense as they both shoot Canon log. You'd expect them to be the same, and they are incredibly similar. However, to my eye, the EOS R's log is just a little flatter than the C100's. It's a small difference, but it is there, and so whilst not much of a factor, that's still a win for the EOS R. Looking at the colours, they are again incredibly similar. It's very difficult to discern a winner here, especially considering my colour correcting process may also influence the results. I don't really think there's a winner or a loser, just pick the one you like the most. Moving on to low light, and now the C100 Mark II wins a category. It's not a night and day difference, but the C100 II does edge out a win. This does make complete sense considering its much lower megapixel count and the active cooling, both of which help to reduce noise in the image. Slow motion, well, very difficult to discern a winner here too. Both do 1080p at 60 FPS, and I would just leave it at that. Even though the EOS R does have 120 FPS, it's not in full HD, so just looking at the 60 FPS, I'd call that a draw too. Now, that's it really in terms of image quality differences, but there are a few other factors to think about when choosing between these cameras. Bonus points should be awarded to the EOS R for being able to output a 10-bit image via HDMI, where the C100 Mark II can only do 8-bit. Provided you've got an external recorder attached, the 10-bit lock will give you much more detail when it comes to color grading. At least the C100 Mark II does have a full-size HDMI port, which is much easier to work with. The EOS R does not have one, which is understandable considering its size, but not quite as user-friendly as a full-size port. When it comes to size, the winner of this depends on your requirements. If you just want something that fits in a backpack, then the much smaller EOS R is clearly a better fit. However, for cinema applications, the C100 has a form factor that makes it much easier to use and easier to rig. Not to mention that all the controls being assigned to physical buttons makes it much faster to use. The built-in ND filters also mean bonus usability points. Whilst there is a difference in sensor size, it's mostly negated when using the EOS R in 4K as it has a 1.7 times crop. The C100 has a Super 35 sensor with a 1.5 times crop, so not much difference there. However, when using the EOS R in 1080p mode, it uses all of its full frame sensor, so if you value being able to get a really wide angle in full HD, then that's definitely worth considering. I hope you found this comparison and all of this information useful. It should go without saying that this is purely for video and cinema applications. If you want to take photos, pretty clearly the EOS R is the way to go.